certainly not the end of the story, but it is hard to see how these Hong Kong protesters can overcome the Chinese central government, or can they?
I think it's hard to see, indeed. They're still trying to show how difficult it will be for Beijing to impose its will fully on Hong Kong, but everyone knows the Beijing authorities are, one, really powerful, and two, really determined.
Now, Taiwan is also getting into the fight. You've got the president of Taiwan tweeting today, all political parties in Taiwan strongly condemn China's decision to bypass Hong Kong's legal process and push for the passage of today's national security law resolution. Beijing responding by saying Taiwan is stirring up trouble, looting a burning house. What role could Taiwan play here?
Well, this is a very tricky and sensitive issue for Taiwan because on the one hand, in some sense, Hong Kong is a little bit of a canary in the coal mine for Taiwan. Hong Kong's status is, of course, very, very different. Since 1997, it has been legally part of the People's Republic of China, but under a special formula, one country, two systems, whereas Taiwan has been governed separately from mainland China since 1949. And before that, it was only governed together with mainland China for a few years in the mid-40s. Before that, it was a Japanese colony. So Taiwan's in a very different status. Nonetheless, what we know is that the one country, two systems formula that was used to unify or to bring Hong Kong into a political relationship with the People's Republic of China was actually originally designed for Taiwan. And the idea was that Hong Kong would be this sort of demonstration case and everybody would see how well it worked and then it would be applied to Taiwan. So the fact that it hasn't worked and the fact that it appears now to be effectively abandoned means that the long-standing concept for Taiwan's future, at least the concept held by the authorities in Beijing, is on really shaky ground.
Meantime, you have the U.S. House passing this bill approving sanctions against Chinese officials for how they treat Muslim minorities, the Uyghur population in China. You have the president planning to hold a news conference on China tomorrow. What are you expecting and what could the U.S. do here in the midst of an already tense relationship between the two countries, but what has been, up to this point, a sort of trade détente?
Right. I think the options available to the U.S. are pretty limited and pretty weak because what we are facing is a matter that the Beijing leadership has pretty well committed to a course of action and is unlikely to be turned back or deterred. The Hong Kong issue is one of really central importance to the PRC, and I think they thought that as long as things were moving or could appear to be moving in a favorable direction, or at a minimum were not moving too quickly in an unfavorable direction, there could be a lot of flexibility and, the government in Hong Kong, the local government there could be held responsible or made responsible for managing the issue. But when things spiraled out of control and the center stepped in, that really is a very hard action to roll back no matter what the U.S. does. And meanwhile, the U.S. has been, sort of on both sides of the China issue for the past 3.5 years. So maybe missed, it's hard to say really, but may have missed the opportunity to stand up for Hong Kong earlier before the PRC had fully committed to this course of action.